Welcome to another show, another episode of Word of Torah with Moshe Abrahams and me,
Hello.
the humble little student, the learning student. I'm on the level of primary education, so that's why I've chosen him to be my teacher. And so I hope everybody in the world can learn how to read Hebrew by studying the ancient, most beautiful text called the Holy Torah. So we're excited about starting another class. Moshe, have you been safe? Have things been going on well for you?
Yeah, Baruch Hashem, things are going well. We're starting to have changes out here in the Middle East for the better. People coming home, just an absolute answer to prayers. Wonderful moments. So please God, everyone will come home very, very soon.
Amen. And great miracles are taking place. I mean, we're hearing some amazing stories of like miraculous events that take place. I heard one yesterday about a soldier having an accidental discharge while trying to fix his weapon and killed a Hamas terrorist by accident who had just
Wow.
popped up to kill the group of guys that were in the group hiding. It's like
Wow, that's
crazy.
crazy.
He popped up and the
Absolutely.
gun went off and everybody was shocked because they saw this guy jump up and fall down. And everybody's
Wow.
like, wow, what did you do?
What even happened?
Yes, exactly.
Wow.
So miracles still happen in a modern day, and so we're excited about it. God is good.
Yeah.
Anyway, Moshe, let's get started in our class. We don't want to belabor it too much longer, so I'll let you get started.
So just to kind of refresh our context, we're going through currently going through the 6 days of creation, or the 6 flows of creation. And we're at one of the most exciting days. We're just starting day 6. Last episode, we finished with Yom Chamishi, day 5. And so one of the reasons why day 6 is so exciting is because not only is tomorrow Shabbat, which is wonderful, but also this is the day we get people. I love that. That's every layer just keeps on getting more and more thrilling as you go through the Torah. I'm going to start off with this word here, which is probably going to be the first word that everyone is going to recognize on sight, because it's one of the most common words in the Torah. It's the word Amar, Aleph Mem Resh. Amar is the root word to speak or to say. And then this green letter, Yod, obviously it's not green on the Torah scroll, I've made it green. This tells you that he or it will do the verb. So he or it will say. And then this blue Vav, this is a tense flipper. So that flips it from the future tense into the past. So V'yomer means he said.
And we have something that's different here that I'd like you to try to explain to me. There are 2 dots, one above, one in the center. There's got to be a reason why, because I normally don't see that.
Well, it's a very good point, because some of these dots are very clear, and some of them are a little bit mysterious. So one thing that can happen is the dot above is called a nikud. This is a vowel, so that gives an O sound. A good way to remember it is it's O when it's over. So whenever there's a dot over the letter, that's an O dot. So that's yo. Va, this is a patach, which makes an A sound. Va, yo, and then mer. The aleph doesn't actually have a vowel on it, so it doesn't make a sound. But this dot in here is a little bit unusual. It looks like a dagesh. Let me find you a good example of a dagesh.
Exactly
some of the letters,
yeah.
Right. And some of the letters in Hebrew, like for example, the letter bet. Oh, I've changed slides. The trigger happy on this slide
right
changer.
there, bet.
So this bet here can actually make 2 sounds. Without a dagesh, it makes a v sound, but with a dagesh, it makes a b sound. That's what we call a plosive sound. So like, for example, the difference between an F sound and a P sound. P kind of explodes.
Right.
So most of the time when you see a dagesh, it changes the sound from a smooth sound like vet to a plosive sound like a bet. There are examples, but sometimes you get a dagesh that doesn't change the sound.
Okay.
And that can either mean that there have been 2 of the same letters that have been squashed onto top of each other, or it can mean that it used to change the sound.
Gotcha.
So everyone's always interested in what did Hebrew sound like at the time that the Torah was being written down. And the best line on that inquiry we have are the Yemenite Jews, the Temani.
That's interesting. What is the major differences?
So they've kept a lot of the different sounds that Hebrew has lost over the years. For example, we've got a gimel, which is, it kind of looks like a giraffe. And when it has a dot in it, and when it doesn't have a dot, for us, Sephardim and Ashkenazi always makes a G sound. But for the Temani, they have a gimel and a gimel, so it still makes two different sounds. The same with the Dalet. We can have a Dalet with a dot or without a dot, and for me, I always pronounce it like a D sound.
Right.
But they have a Dalet and a Thalet, like a softer D, like an Irish D.
Really?
Right? So there are other sounds that you can get to. Another example, which I really like, is ayin. Now, ayin, for Ashkenazi people, for example, they treat it the same as an aleph, just makes the same sound, just
right.
whatever vowel you put on it. But with the Temani, it's ayin. You have an ayin and a
more of a
ayin.
throat, like
Right.
ayin. Yeah.
Absolutely, way down there. And Arabic speakers will know this because they know they still have an ayin and a ghayin.
Right.
And the area now, which is known as Gaza in English, in Hebrew is called Azza, and it's pronounced, it's written with an ayin. And the reason we say j is because in Arabic they still say Gaza, Gaza. And when we listen to that in England and in America and any English-speaking
like
country,
Gaza.
Right, that's the closest sound we can make.
Yeah.
But actually, here in Israel, because we've lost the r sound, we say Azza.
Right. And a person could actually go and listen to Yemeni Hebrew spoken, and it is fascinating. And it is probably the closest thing to what ancient Hebrew would have sounded like. And to hear it sung or to hear the prayers being done is so beautiful and unique. So
absolutely,
we'll get back to it. Sorry about that.
No, that's great. I
had to ask that because I'm learning like everybody else is learning. So
absolutely. Yeah, you have the reach to ask the questions that people are you say, you haven't explained that dot. You can be everyone's mouthpiece and say, what's the dot?
Yes.
So V'yomer, he said. Now, because the vav can be a tense flipper or it can be an and. Classically, people want to say, and he said, and it has this very kind of biblical way of speaking. And verily, he said to them. And actually, it's really an and or a tense flipper. So this was really said, he said. And often we get the verb first and then who's doing the verb. So this is Elohim. This is the noun of God. So V'yomer Elohim means God said. So we need to know what God said. So we need to go, come back. Here we go. So God said, and this means that what he's about to say, normally if someone's talking to someone, if there's someone else to talk to, when the people come around, he might be talking to them. But when there's no people around, you think, who's God speaking to? But we saw with Yehi or, there will be light, Yehi or, there was light. Sometimes God just speaks things into existence. He commands things to exist. And that's what's happening here. Totse ha'aretz. Now earlier we saw the yod in V'yomer means he or it will do it. But the taf, you see how it's green? It's doing the same job as the yod in V'yomer, right? But this one's feminine. The yod says he or it will do it. And the taf says she or you will do it. And actually, depending on who's doing the verb, we've got a different letter for each one. So totse means she will do something.
So whenever you see the tots, the tav with the dot in between, that is the feminine she will.
Yeah, this one doesn't even need to have a dot to make it she or you. It's just, I'll always color it green. So when it's at the beginning, when it's added on to the beginning of the word, until everyone feels really confident, I'll keep it with the green color. So when you see a green taf, it's she or you. And you see how the V'yomer, that's got a blue vav to flip it from future into past.
Right.
This one doesn't have that.
Correct.
So it's still future. It hasn't been flipped into the past.
Gotcha.
So totse, this is the word we have. The three places you're most likely to see it is if you're blessing on bread and you say, blessed is God, King of the universe, hamotzi lechem min haaretz, who draws the bread out of the earth. Right. Or you'll hear it in the phrase, Yetziat Mitzrayim, which in the Greek term for that would be the exodus from Egypt. But in Hebrew, it's Yetziat Mitzrayim, to exit from Egypt. And the other place you'll see it is if you go to a pub in Israel and you look at the door on the way out, there'll be a green sign above it that says Yetza'ah, which means exit. So this is the exit word.
That's good.
But it says, what's going to exit? Well, the next, just like the V'yomer Elohim, we have the verb and then who's doing it. We have totse, the verb, and then who's doing it? Haaretz.
Haaretz.
And that's why this verb is feminine. because haaretz, the land, that's a feminine word.
Right.
So her verb is feminine.
Gotcha.
So what is she doing? She's going out from somewhere. She's had enough of being in the pub. She's finished a pint. She's going out. No, she's putting something out. She's causing something to exit.
Right.
And the thing that she's causing to exit is nefesh. Now, some people might know this from nefesh b'nefesh,
right,
which means soul to soul. And nefesh is a soul. So the earth is going to put out souls. In fact, if we zoom out and see the next word, it's nefesh chaya. Now, we've clinked glasses and said l'chaim.
L'chaim. Mm-hmm.
What's chai? What's chaim?
Life.
Absolutely. So nefesh chaya is living souls.
Living souls.
So the earth will put out.
Which is any living soul, correct?
Right.
Yeah.
It's not clear what it's going to be yet. We're going to get a list of what these living souls are afterwards. It says lemina. Now, if I bless on smelling nice herbs at the end of Shabbat, I say Borei Mine Besamim, who creates the various kinds of herb, besamim herbs. Or if I eat like a cake or a biscuit that's not bread, I say Mine Mazonot, the kinds of grains. So mine is kinds or species or whatever you like to say. So it's 2 or 4. Lamed means 2 or 4. Mina, the kinds, and then the hey at the end is a feminine possessive hey. That means it's her kinds. So it's nefesh chaya, living souls, to her kinds or for her kinds. And then we get this word here, which all come back, they keep on running away. These nefesh chaya keep on running off from me. This is behema. Behema. Now, you might think that's a new word, but we've adopted it into English as a behemoth. A great big behemoth. So we've taken that word from Hebrew. Behemoth is a Hebrew word meaning great big land animals, big monstrous hairy things. You know, be they cows or mammoths or woolly rhinos or whatever it is that we're dealing with. Great big mammals. Behemoth. So you best not call anyone a behemoth by mistake unless you want to get in trouble with them. So that's the first thing. Lamina behemoth. And then it says Veremes. Now, remes
is a very familiar word, yeah.
Yeah, that's this stuff. I'm not sure the right way to call it in English, but it's everything that does that. All the creepy stuff, the crawly stuff, the creepy crawlies. Maybe it's the creepy crawlies. So Behemoth, Rod, we worked with a wonderful student a while back who is a sign language interpreter. So whenever we had Behemoth, we put horns on, right?
Oh, is that it?
And right, she started doing that. So
she's a cattle baroness in in Texas. So you have to remember that.
both that's a great term, cattle baroness.
Oh, I know, it rings so well. Everybody likes it. She stiffens up when I say it, I think.
Yeah, right. So it's these two seemingly unconnected jobs: sign language and baronizing cattle. So and also the remes, the crawly things, that so we always do that. And I find that when you do the actions whenever you hear the word, it helps seat it in your memory because it's a like a kinetic memory, it's a physicalized memory.
Right.
So nefesh chaya, living souls, lamina, to her kind, behema, great big land animals,
right,
veremes, and crawly
things.
V'chai to.
Aretz.
Yeah, well, this is again chai that we know as life.
Yeah.
But we have chayat. This can be an ov taf, and the little vav. This is a really good one to remember because a minute ago when we had lamina, her kinds, you had a feminine hey.
Right.
But when you have a vav with a little yarmulke on it, we call this a deacon's vav, and that's because one of our youngest students, Deacon, came up with this wonderful idea. It looks like a little guy wearing a yarmulke.
Yes, it does.
There's his body. Maybe that's his nose, and that's his little yarmulke on top. So that vav at the end, a deacon's vav, means his or its. So chayato, so it's life. So it's the great big land animals and the crawly things and the life of Eretz, the earth. Lemina, to her kind. So this her is probably the Eretz, and It says Vayihi came. Now we first got Vayihi Yehi or, there will be light. Vayehi or, and there was light. See, that's that tense flipper, flipping the future to the past again. So it says, this says Vayehi kain, and it was so, and it was like that. Right? Now we always get this phrase Vayehi kain when we've done a certain amount of the process, but we haven't finished the process.
Right.
So there's going to be something else about bringing life out of the earth. Absolutely. Yeah. So we've had light divided into light and darkness, and then we've had the waters divided to above and below, and the waters above, or the flow above, stayed flowing, stayed watery. Right. The stuff below started being divided into land and sea, and then we started getting crawling things in fish and plants and all these wonderful things. And now we're getting to the part, we've got big land animals.
Right.
And it's almost like escalating in complexity, right? So what's the most complex out of the natural world? It's us.
Right.
We weird things that do things like invent sarcasm and hummus and fridge magnets. This is I don't see any of the behemoth making fridge magnets.
Well, I can tell you one thing, though. We have to remember we were made after the ant and mosquito. So it should tell us how humble we should be in this world. Okay.
Absolutely.
Refrigerator magnets. Okay, that's great. But come on.
Yeah, but tiny little vampire insects, they got there first. Oh, this is just as we're passing. The word for mosquito in Hebrew, yatush.
Yatush.
Yatush. I hate them. I love all of nature except mosquitoes. It's useful if you have to go to the pharmacy when you're in Israel.
So a yatush is a pain in the tuchus. So
absolutely.
They go together.
Very good. And talking of which, this word here says v'ya'as. Now, it's important to know the distinction between that and your elbow, but this is nothing to do with your tuchus. This is the verb to make or do, right? So you'll notice as well, I keep on banging on about these 3-letter verb roots, right?
Right.
This has only got 2.
Right.
Because the yard isn't part of the root. That's the one that says he or it will do it. And the vav isn't part of the root. That says it's flipped from future into the past tense.
So something is not appearing. Correct.
Absolutely. Right. So it turns out that we've got 2 weak letters in Hebrew.
Right.
One of them is a nun, which has often gone missing from the beginning, and the other one is a hey, which often goes missing from the end. Not a hard and fast rule, but very, very common that it's that way around.
So if you see a 2-letter root, more than likely that will be the case. So if you want to investigate the root a little bit more, you'll be able to see it. Yeah.
And that way you can kind of guess. You can say, well, does this work with a nun at the beginning? No, that's not really a word. Does this work with a hey at the end? Right. So it's narrowed down. If 22 letters could go missing, you'd have an absolute balagan trying to find the root. But if only 2 can, that makes it much easier, right?
Right.
So it happens to be, I know this one. This is asa, to make or do. So it's a hey missing off the end. So we don't worry too much about it. It's still very clear from what's left, what's there. So the as and he made, but it's not really and, it's a tense flipper. So he made, and then we need to know who made. After the verb, we have who did it. Elohim. So God made, and then we have this et object marker. So that means God's the one doing, and et's the one being done. So if God made something, it's et hayat haaretz, the life of the land, lamina. So it's really telling us what happened in the last verse, but God said this is going to happen, and then this is after it, and he made it. He made the life of the land, lamina, to her kind, v'et. Now, as soon as you notice a second et, you go, oh, we've got et, v'et, v'et.
Right.
So that means we're going to have 3 kinds of thing being made. So we've got 1 verb and 3 outcomes.
Right.
Et chayat haaretz lamina, the life of the land to its kind, to her kind. V'et habahema, these guys.
Big giants.
Right? Lamina, to her kind. V'et kol remes ha'adama. Now, Adam's the name of the Adam Harishon is the first guy, but Adam Harishon gets made out of ha'adama, and that's how he gets his name. So ha'adama is the ground that Adam was made from, so that's how he gets his name. So kol remes ha'adama is all that crawls the ground, crawls the earth, right? Laminehu. Just like lamina. Lamina means to her kind, but who in Hebrew means he. Who means he, and he means she, and hem means them. Right? That's an annoying thing to remember because he sounds like it should be he, but it's she. So
Yes.
I'll keep on repeating, who means he means she, and hem means them. I think hem's the easiest one because hem
Hem's
sounds
easier.
like them.
Yes, that's very easy. But the other one.
Do you want a second level challenge for hem?
Oh yes, absolutely. I like that.
If you change the last letter from a mem, hem, to a nun, hen, that means them when they're all female.
Females. Yeah.
Right. So who means he, and he means she, and hem means them, and hen means them when they're all female.
Which we're not going to extrapolate the hens and the female part.
Right.
I'm saying that's the Hebrew description of them.
Right.
I'm
It's a
not
good way to
adding anything
remember it.
else. I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah. Well, that's a great way to remember it because we in England we call a bachelorette party, we call it a hen party.
Right. I didn't want to go that far, but yeah.
So that's hen over there. The hen party is all
I can
female.
remember my uncles talking about the women in the kitchen, and they go, "Listen to all the hens cackling in the other room." Right?
We're gonna get in trouble. We're gonna get cancelled
No,
for this.
This is your podcast with your name on it. I'm just learning. Okay. I do want to say something according to your text, and we'll switch back if you want to switch back to the text real quick, because you had mentioned something that it comes from Adam, like from the earth, right?
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting that Adam came into physicality through the earth or from the earth. The pious, the righteous, the Jews will return from the earth in resurrection. Right? And the only way to get in physicality between Adam and this is to come through water. So there's a whole Kabbalistic thing that I would want to encourage people to just kind of go study and look at it's interesting stuff. So once again, Torah is much more quantum level learning.
Yeah. We even get that in the phrase, from dust you were made and to dust you will return.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Very good. So,
Beautiful.
Do you want to continue on? Do we have time?
Yeah, let's go in. With your permission, we'll just go to the end of this verse here, and then we can pause for the moment. So, et chayat haaretz lamina, ve'et behema habehema lamina, ve'et kol remes ha'adma laminehu. That's the who being the he at the end. And then we get this phrase, v'yar. So v'yar Elohim, this is the verb to see. And again, this is one where hang on, it's only got a two-letter verb root because there's a hey missing. So the verb ro'eh is the verb to see. And yar, this means he will see, and v'yar means he saw. And then after the verb, we get who did the verb. So in this case, we get Elohim. Right? So what did God see? Well, God saw Ki Tov, that it was good. I love that phrase, right?
You know,
the strange thing about,
don't you want to hear that when you stand before judgment?
Oh man, yeah, you want to, yeah, absolutely,
Tov.
Yeah. So the interesting thing about this is, it might be counterintuitive, but I think it tells you not so much about the thing itself, but a little bit more about God.
Correct.
Because it shows you what God thinks is good. So, okay, so life is good, of course. Animals are good. But what do we mean? Why is he picking these things out? Well, a minute ago, he said that the process was finished, right? So he said, Veyehi Kain, and it was so. But there was more to do on this. So he said it was going to be like this, and it was like this.
Mm-hmm.
But it's only when we get to the end of the process that he says, it's good. And at the end of all of creation, he says, Tov me'od, very good.
Very good, right.
So the closing up of these, applying these rules and these ideas of separation and definition, coming from the infinite to the finite, this is a process which in the eyes of God is good. Mm-hmm. And it's not that he's just very happy with a good day's work. It's that he's teaching us something about what needs to happen. And it may be that in the current era, people want to take away definition. They want to say that, a thing is not a thing. It could be anything. Or a person is not a person. They could be anything.
Right.
But that's kind of reversing the idea of creation. Creation has principles and rules and systems, and that's good. And that's
Right.
how we all know we're on the same page. But
Right.
as soon as you start picking away, pulling at the threads, trying to make everything is everything and nothing is anything, and it's not in keeping with the way things work.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So,
as you were saying that, it just really struck me that one of the most beautiful concepts in Judaism is when someone feels that they're seeking Hashem, trying to find Hashem. It says to look for him in the cracks of the earth. Like look for him at the level of creation. Just look. You'll
absolutely.
find him. Just look him and you'll find him. I mean, so we understand that the very source of creation, the earth, the physicality, everything was created. Hashem considers in the future, we'll see, very good. Like
Absolutely.
he's going to say
Absolutely.
very good. What's your biggest takeoff of today's class?
I love how much care is being taken over everything.
Yes.
But one of the things that kind of really shook me is we used to have this kind of Victorian idea that everything in creation is for our benefit, and that someone says, oh well, a bumblebee makes honey. What does a wasp do? And if a wasp doesn't do something specifically for humans, like what's with that? But actually, it's all part of this huge, epic, and stunning creation. Maimonides says, if you want to increase your awe of God, study nature.
Yes.
Which is just like what you're saying about looking at the cracks. But almost all of it is completely inhospitable to us. So if you look at the vastness of the universe, pretty much anywhere we go in the universe, it doesn't have what we need. It doesn't have air and food and the right amount of light, too much radiation or too little radiation. But in the midst of this seemingly infinite chaos, there's this pale blue dot that has everything we ever need and everything we've ever needed. And it's absolutely perfect for us. Perfect. And the cool thing is part 2, when God then says, you make me a place that I can come into. And in the first instance, that's the tabernacle, the mishkan, the meeting place. But later, it becomes our lives. And in order to emulate God, we say, you made a place for me to live. I want to make a place for you to live. I want you to come into my life. And I want you to meet me there. And I'll just add one thing from the Muslims. The Muslims have this beautiful phrase that says, if you take one step towards God, he takes 3 steps towards you.
Correct.
So,
that's absolutely incredible. I'm glad you said that. And this is why I am a constant place of helping people to elevate their consciousness in this time. And we have to remember that all of creation is meant for, at some point, for creation and the sublime or the upper levels that have been separated by that firmament. And we talked about this dark and light, that there is a marriage between it in which Shemaim comes down and kisses earth, that there's going to be, we're told, a reunion of how it should be at Gan Eden. And I do believe that there are a lot of people, not just Jews or Noahides, pious people, but there are a lot of very godly, spiritual people who realize there's a shift going on, and we're in that time right now. And so the sooner that you and I can help encourage people to elevate their consciousness, study Torah, learn, become more proficient in how you manage your life and your mentality and your attitude, we're going to get there real soon, right?
Amen.
Okay, guys, this has been the next episode. Next week, come in. We're going to have another class set up for you. 10 a.m. Monday morning, premieres every Monday morning at 10 a.m. Tell your friends, tell your neighbors, and tell anybody that doesn't really care, because we just need anybody to listen. Also, hit like and share. We really appreciate that. It means a lot to us. So until next week, shalom, shalom.